Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another day of our Summer Reading Club programming. And today is Friday. And today we have a really interesting and fun craft planned for you all. We are going to be making these really cool monsters that can bite, and it's made out of cardboard. Isn't that really cool? So, what you'll need for today's craft is some cardboard. What I would recommend using is thinner cardboard, like as you see with cereal boxes, pizza boxes, or as I have here, wonderful chicken burgers. But the reason that you want to use this thinner cardboard instead of the thicker cardboard that you use, say, for packing and storage, is because A, it's a little bit easier to cut, and B, it's a lot easier to fold. So I would definitely recommend using this lighter and thinner cardboard. You will need some scissors. I'm using some bigger scissors today just to help with cutting the cardboard. You'll need a writing utensil, something that you can use for tracing. Some glue. As always, I'm using hot glue just because it dries a whole heck of a lot faster, but if you only have a glue stick or white glue, that works perfectly okay too. You will also need a ruler, very important today because we'll be doing lots and lots of tracing. And you will also need pins. Now for this craft, you have a couple of different options as to what you use. You can use thumbtacks, which are those little pins that you use to hang, let's say, posters, papers, calendars, anything like that on a bulletin board. You can use these tiny little pins here that look just like this. Or you can use these, which are called brads. And what they are is basically kind of like induotangs to hold all the pages. They separate into just like that. So completely up to you as to what you use. For me, what I used today was I used a brad just because it was a lot easier when it came to keeping every part of the monster here connected. Now, to get started today, what you want to do is grab your cardboard box, no matter what it is, and then you're going to want to cut along any of the seams, and that will make it open up so it'll be nice and flat for you, so you can cut out anything that you'd like there. Now, the first thing that you'd like to cut out is a nice rectangle here. Now, the measurements of this rectangle is you need it on inches, 7.5 inches wide and 11.5 inches tall. So as you see here, not the centimeter side like we have at the bottom, but you'll pull it up here and you see I'm just at the 7.5 mark right there. And then you flip it over. And just like so, I'm just at around the 11.5 mark right there. So once you have done that, your next step is to again use your ruler for measuring, and you're going to want to draw 6 straight strips, if you will, 6 straight lines all the way down on your cardboard rectangle here. Now, I would recommend the spacing in between each of these little strips being just under a regular ruler size. So for example here, I'll just trace my first line. Again, making sure they're nice and straight. If it takes a little bit of extra time, that is totally okay. Okay. Just like so. That is my first line. And you see, if you keep them about this size, then you'll have plenty of space to do 6 all the way across. Now, I will just do my next 5 here. And what I love about this craft is it does take a lot of detail, but when you're finished, it looks so cool. I have 4, almost there. I'm on my last one. 6. Just like that. And for me, I had plenty of space to make all of these, so it's up to you if you would like to use a little bit more of your cardboard and make the spacing in between each line a little bit bigger. But as you can see with this one, I just went with these 6 strips, fairly long, and it worked just fine. Now, once you have done this, what you're going to want to do is grab your scissors and then cut along each line here to make your 6 strips. That's 1. And yeah, I'm using the bigger scissors today just because it helps a lot more when it comes to cutting the cardboard, because I also have these really, really tiny ones, but it takes what seems like forever cutting a single strip with these little guys. Number 3. And of course, make sure not to cut yourself. I know that's pretty simple, but still. I found when I was doing my first craft this morning, it was definitely a little bit more on the rushed side, so I almost nicked my fingers a little bit, so be very, very careful and take your time. There we go. Now we have our 6 strips, just like so. And these guys, and the last one. So, what you'll want to do next is, with your glue or hot glue gun, you're going to want to grab each cardboard strip here and then fold it so that the actual box itself is on the inside, meaning you just have your cardboard on the outside here. And try and make sure it's nice and straight. There we go. Mine looks like so, but you see it still comes apart nice and easily, so that's when you put just a little bit of glue on the ends here, which will keep it nicely together, just like so. And then as you're doing them all, it'll give them the time they need to dry. And again, just fold. There we go. That's number 2. Number 3. A lot of this craft is repetition, which can be really, really good as well, because it means that once you do the step once, you'll know what to do for most of the rest of the craft, but it can also feel like it takes forever sometimes. So just be nice and patient. There we go. And this one is number 5. Look just like that. And number 6, our last one here. All right. There we go, just like that. And there you have it. Now you have all 6 of your strips here that have all been folded and glued. Our next step is, on each strip, what you want to do is put 3 dots. Now what that will show us is where we actually poke holes with our little thumbtacks, our pins, or our brads here. Now, try and just eyeball it. It doesn't have to be an exact measurement. Just about like there. If you see, I have my 1, 2, and 3. You want to make sure that this dot is as close to the middle as possible. And then these ones are just kind of in between the middle and the edge. Just like that. But of course it doesn't have to be perfect. Mine certainly won't be. And that is totally okay. It's just to give you a little bit of a reference point for when you are putting the holes into each strip here. There we go. And just like that. So, what you'd like to do next is we're going to actually start assembling our little monster here. So if you see in the construction, if you don't include his mouth and his jaw here, you have 3 X's. You have 1X, 2X, and then 3X. That will be important because, of course, for each X, it takes 2 strips. Now, how you're going to want to get started is with your first 2 strips. All you're going to do is put them like so. So now what this means is you need to make a hole in the middle of this one and in the middle of this one. So then you can put a little tack, pin, or brad in the middle of it. So for me, this is probably the hardest part of the entire craft. And what I've been doing is, because it can be kind of hard to put a hole in the middle sometimes, I have both just a tiny little knife here and a pin, just like so, that I use to poke the hole right through the middle. Now, it'll look just like this. So you start to slowly poke it through. Be very, very careful not to poke yourself with the pin or get yourself with the knife or scissors, whatever you're using to poke a hole through. I know as well it can also work where you put a pencil right through, but what I would recommend first is using just a tiny pin or a thumbtack and putting it through first before you try it with the pencil, because otherwise the pencil won't get all the way through, as you see here. It requires a little bit more time to get it all the way through. And when it comes to your reference dots, if you will, they are only there as a reference. So that means that if you see here, I noticed that when it came to my dot, it wasn't in the middle, so I put the pin in the middle instead, so right here. That way, when I grab my other strip, I can just put it like that, and it'll both be in the middle. Yeah, so I'm just making sure that the hole is big enough. If you're using thumbtacks or these tiny pins, then you don't need a very big hole for these actual strips. It can be rather tiny, but if you see, I'm using a little bit of a thicker one, the brads here, so because of that, I need a little bit bigger of a hole. And be nice and patient with it. Again, please don't poke yourselves. It can be quite dangerous sometimes. There we go. And you see, it's through just like that. So what I'm going to want to do next is grab my next strip here and put a hole right through the middle of that one too. I'm going to go right about here. And again, it's just rinsing and repeating the exact same process. It takes some time, takes a little bit of detail, but I promise you it is worth it at the end because it makes a really, really cool monster that, with the actual way it is folded, it can bite, just like so, as you see. So I've almost finished the second hole here. Awesome. Now that should be big enough for my brad. Again, being nice and patient with it. You don't want to hurt yourself. And if it takes an extra try or two, just to slowly make a big enough hole, don't worry. Because when I was first doing this craft, it took me, I want to say, about half an hour to 45 minutes to completely finish, only because it was my first time doing it, and it took me quite a long time to get every hole in the right place and to make sure that it was nice and properly lined up. Almost there. Yeah, and with a thumbtack, you don't need it to be a very thick hole. And voila, I finally got mine. So it's gone through, and if you're using one of these brads, what you'll then want to do is, if you see it has the 2 prongs, you will want to pull one to one side, and then the other to the other. It may be hard to see with this one, but as you see with these guys, I have the 1 prong on the one side, the other prong on the other side. Now the risk with using a thumbtack or a pin is that it will be poking out, meaning what you'll have to do to make sure it stays nice and straight is, and without poking yourself, hold onto the top of the pin with your thumb, so not the pointy end, but the top of the pin, and then you will have to use either a little bit of a utensil or something like that, or if you're okay with it, use just the edge of your finger and then push the pin over so it's bending it. Therefore, it's not going to be poking out and getting you when you use it and touch the back side of your monster here. So basically, it's just rinsing and repeating the process all the way through, and you're going to want to make all of these X's. Now, if you see with my completed one, what you need to do is, assuming this was our first X right here, you don't need to put holes in the top here, but you will need to put holes in the bottom, so here and here. So what I did was, after I had this completed, just like that, I put a hole at the bottom here, just like that, and then I put a hole in the middle of this one so it could go right through here. So it would look something like this, just like that. And then once you're done there, you would put a hole up here and then slowly make another X, just like that. You see? So you have that here, and then you put another one here, and then it makes this next X. And then you just keep going, doing that exact same thing all the way across. So you put another strip here, and make that X. So again, it's just making all of these X's. You want 3, and then of course you'll be using strip here, and then combine them in the middle, and then keep going just along that same pattern. After that, you should be getting to the point where you have everything but the little jaw here, as you see in the back. And that will be when you can design it however you want, whether it be adding a little head or a mouth, as I did. I just did a little jaw, so you can really see the biting. I also did a googly eye, but at any time you can paint it, you can color it however you would like, you can draw on an eye. I saw one of a really, really cool dragon where it was a neat design all the way across, and they had it breathing fire using tissue paper and ribbons, which was really, really cool. But again, as most of the crafts are, the customization is completely up to you. But I really hope you guys enjoyed. I know it's a little bit more of a complicated craft today, but as you can see, in the end, it is really worth it. It's such a cool one. Now, I hope you all have an amazing, amazing rest of your Friday. It was fun as always, and I can't wait to see you guys soon. Have a good one, everyone.